Hey everybody, welcome to the latest edition of Take 5. And today, I want to talk to you about remote investigations. You know, it's funny. Over the years, when I think back to, 2-3 years prior to the COVID pandemic happening, I was a big proponent of remote investigations, the ability to do a lot of investigative work remotely, using things like Teams, like Zoom, although those products were not quite as well understood or known at the time that I was talking about them. I really believe that we could do investigations remotely and in turn save our clients time, save resources, be more efficient. And then the pandemic hit. And the pandemic ended up creating a scenario where remote was really the only option. And I've got to be honest, I felt a little vindicated that here we are, about a year past the pandemic, or maybe not officially, but we're, well on our way. And remote is the name of the game now. Remote, not only remote investigations, remote hearings, remote courtroom testimony, remote arbitrations, everything's remote. And I guess I wanted to talk a little bit today about, is it a good thing? And I think, generally speaking, it is. I think we've come a long way. I think we've realized the benefits of remote work. We're seeing it in all aspects of our lives. But with respect to investigations in particular, I think it's important to recognize that, the remote approach has its advantages. And to get to the advantages, I'm going to talk about what were presumed to be the disadvantages before. And the big one, the one that everybody talked about was, well, how are you going to assess credibility when you can't be in the same room as the person, when you can't, look them in the eye, so to speak? Well, we can look them in the eye. We can look them in the eye through a camera. But besides that, I think that really speaks to a bit of an old way of thinking around how one would assess credibility. And I think credibility, as I've said in previous episodes of Take 5, credibility is not assessed by whether or not a person shifts in their chair, looks away from you, won't make eye contact, all of these things. A lot of these things are myths, frankly. And the ones that aren't myths are things that really require a significant level of expertise, a level of expertise that really most of us who are conducting regulatory or workplace investigations, we don't have. It would take years to develop those skills. And in the end, how useful would those skills be? We assess credibility based on the content of what people say, the tone in their voice, the language that they use, the demeanor that they present with, the consistency of what they say versus what other people say. These are really the concrete ways to assess credibility, and there are others as well. The point is, remote investigations does not eliminate the ability to do those things. So in that respect, remote investigations is not a damper on the ability of an interviewer to do a proper interview. So that's first and foremost the one place I like to start, because I think it's the most significant contraindication that people would cite when talking about remote investigations. Now, that doesn't mean all investigations can be done remotely. There are certainly unique circumstances. There are times where being face-to-face, being in the same room as somebody is important. There are certain types of cases where one would want to meet in person with somebody. But those things, I think, are relatively few. I think that generally speaking, when we're conducting investigations, we can do it remotely. It takes some preparation, right? We have to make sure that we understand our technology, that the other person understands their technology, that we're dealing with issues of confidentiality and all of those things. But generally speaking, the remote investigation is here to stay. And I think it's a good thing. I think clients are finding that it's more efficient. Even the involved parties are happier because investigations can get done more quickly. I know in our company, we've been able to leverage the remote investigation in a way that's allowed us to conduct investigations from very far away. Investigations we might not otherwise have been able to do because it would have been suggested, well, no, you can't come here and do it face-to-face. We don't want you. Now the doors have opened. And so it's good for us from a business perspective. I'm not going to lie, but it's also very good for the people who are involved in these processes. They get done quicker, they get done just as well, just as accurately, and I think it's, as I say, it's here to stay. So those are my thoughts about remote investigations. Certainly there's a lot more we could talk about, but for now, I'll leave it at that, and we'll see you next time on Take 5.